6 years old. Sitting in the car at a stoplight intersection, I noticed a tall figure out my window. There, in the middle island of the road, was a weary yet hardened face. In their hands, they held a cardboard sign. Shaky letters made the words, "Anything helps." I tried looking for spare change, but was not swift enough to beat the green illumination of the traffic light. I was always told that staring was rude, and as we drove by, I didn't look at them. 11 years old. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a laptop just about as old as I was and whose exhaust fan screeched against the midnight hour. I was writing a book, one that I was sure would become the next New York Times best-selling fantasy novel. I had loved to read and had no doubt that this story was on par with anything I had ever read. I saw my future laid out for me there in the bright white reflection of the Word document. The laptop keys were clicking fast and steady. In time with my heartbeat, I was exhilarated. I was overcome with passion for stories. This book never went anywhere, but I think back to those moments fondly. 12 years old. I was visiting home for the second time ever. I didn't grow up there, but the Philippines will always hold a piece of my heart that makes it pang with sentimentality, longing, and desire. Desire to help. Crossing the street with my family to catch our bus, I glanced to my right. There, at the bottom of a large stone wall, was the silhouette of a body, one that was bone thin. Their greasy black hair covered their head as they tried to sleep. The only thing cushioning them against the hard concrete of the walkway was the torn clothes they wore and a large piece of cardboard. As I navigated past other people trying to make it across the road, the individual looked up at me and we locked eyes for only a moment. I remember trying to recall how much cash I had in my wallet that day, but this was not the first instance that time was not on my side. My dad's hand grabbed hold of my arm and dragged me along to catch our bus. 13 years old. My classroom was doing a poetry workshop. I was thrown into a new world of writing, one where words meant things they didn't actually mean, and I was fascinated by the way that just a few short stanzas could make me as emotional as this. I chased after it like I chased the seeds of kick dandelions in the summers of my childhood. I chased after it like a wish. A wish to write like that, to make readers feel like that, to inspire like that. I hold on to these wishes each time that I write. 14 years old. New to high school, new to big picture learning, new to the MET model of education, I was trying to think of some grand project idea that encompassed my passions and meant something to me. Two things were and still are critical to who I am: my love for writing and storytelling, and my passion for community support. I set up a time to meet with my advisor, and I told her about this crazy idea I had of writing a nonprofit book. One where people living in poverty could share their stories. She looked at me with curiosity and a little surprise, but I saw no doubt. Spoiler alert, this book, this one went somewhere. Throughout my entire life, I had always heard the people around me agree and enable the stereotypes that were placed upon individuals in need of our support. And I always questioned why we assumed we thought we knew who a person was or what they had been through. I was always told that staring was rude. But to that I say that it is only through truly facing something do we take the first critical step in creating change. There, in grade 9, in my small classroom with my advisor, this young and naive girl decided that she would not turn away. Hello. My name is Justine Rory Ramos. I am a grade 11 student at the MaplesMetSchool. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am the author of Angles of Reality, Winnipeg Voices of Resilience, and Stories of Courage. I am sure that each one of you in this room is no stranger to the fact that poverty is a global issue, and I believe that our judgment and stereotypes build walls that prevent us from moving forward. I know that I am not alone when I say that it is heartbreaking to know that there are people, human beings just like you and me, who are fighting each day just to make it to the next. Last year, it was found that 1 in 8 people in Winnipeg are living in poverty. That's 92,000 individuals whose needs go unmet. In the 2018 street census, 65.9% of individuals living in poverty identified as Indigenous. The solution to poverty in Canada is one rooted in reconciliation. Justice Murray Sinclair, Chief Commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, once shared 4 questions that he said Indigenous peoples often have a difficult time answering due to the wrongful erasure of their culture throughout Canadian history. These 4 questions were: who are you? Where do you come from? Where are you going? And why are you here? He also shared that these 4 questions are critical in being able to answer to understand your own identity. These 4 questions are what I based my interviews on for the book. As I mentioned, Angles of Reality is a nonprofit book designed to be a platform where marginalized Winnipeg individuals living in poverty can share their stories. The goal of this project is to advocate, educate, and foster compassion through storytelling. All of the stories that this book highlights comes from genuine and diverse individuals that I was able to meet and interview thanks to the collaboration of Oak Table, a nonprofit organization here in our city that supports those in need. In working with Oak Table staff and volunteers, I was able to meet these individuals who are willing to be interviewed and participate to have their stories shared in my book. Each time I think about my interview process, I am always filled with a sense of love and privilege. It is an honor to have gotten to know these brave individuals in this way and to be the deliverer of their stories. I've come a long way from one of my earliest memories of being witness to poverty and unshelteredness when I was 6 years old at that traffic light intersection. And I've come a long way from thinking that I would become the next New York Times best-selling fantasy novelist at 11 years old. This journey is not over. I'm still selling copies of the book. I'm still doing interviews with classrooms around the city that are reading my book. And there's still so much more for me to learn about poverty and unshelteredness. This journey is not over. But despite that, so far, it has been an experience that has changed my life, and I hold on to that very closely. I used to be a really shy kid growing up. I liked working independently, classroom presentations seemed like the end of the world, and when I did speak, I spoke with my hand over my mouth. But throughout all my years in school, I was always told that I had a gift with writing, a gift with storytelling. And in grade 9, when I started this project and I realized that this gift had the potential to make an impact, it was an opportunity that I wouldn't dare pass up. I was terrified, but I am now able to say that I have used my voice and privilege to help others despite my fear. But I've realized so far on this journey that while there is great courage in speaking, there is also great courage in being open-minded and open-hearted enough to listen. I would not be here today if not for all the individuals that took the time to listen to my crazy ideas, to share, and eventually to read my book. The theme for today's TEDx is time for interruption. Interrupting the status quo, challenging what normal is in our community to create social change. And the greatest way that I have seen this interruption begin is through open-heartedness. And the greatest way that I know how to encourage and inspire this open-heartedness is through storytelling. And so to close this talk, I'd like to share one final story. 16 years old. I was at a community market with the goal of selling more copies of Angles of Reality. A lady came up to the stand. I introduced myself, my project, and my purpose. She picks up a copy of the book as if it were a delicate flower, gazes at the cover as if it were petals, turns it over in her hands to get a better look. Her daughter then comes up beside her and asks, "What is this?" The lady replies, "We live this every day." She proceeds by reading the back cover out loud to her daughter, and when she does, I see that something breaks inside her. The gentle kind of break. The kind of break that, despite the pain, it was soft and warm. She bought a copy of the book. I did not get her name, but each night since that day, I have wished her well. She shared with me her struggles of being a single mother, of income issues, an unsafe apartment, and bad experiences. When I introduced myself to her at that market, and I told her about my purpose there, I didn't realize that she would be the one reminding me of what my true purpose was, reminding me of my wishes, to write in such a way that shares passion and opens hearts, to tell stories that matter, to inspire. And as I stand here before you today, I hope that my story as the author of Angles of Reality will fulfill those wishes too. Thank you.